Hello and welcome to Unit 10. This is our last unit of the semester, so congratulations, you made it. We'll start with section 1 of Unit 10, and we're talking about the future and honestly the present of mass media. Just to start off, I did start grading the media artifact papers. I should have those graded by Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. If I don't, I will soon after. They do take longer than your normal assignments, so please bear with me, but I will have those graded as soon as possible. So far, they look really good. I think they'll all be fine from what I've seen so far. I have had the chance to grade maybe a third or so. So thank you for submitting those. And this, we're going to kind of skip the review because you have the opportunity to go back and look at the other videos and the other PowerPoint slides up until this point. So feel free to do that. You have the opportunity to look at the lectures up until, really they'll be there through the end of the semester. So before the final exam, you'll have the opportunity to go back and look at those. We won't talk about the final exam just yet, but I might cover that in the last video that I post. So today we'll be talking about advertising and the impact on the economy and the impact on us, as well as media's mixed revenue model and the three affordances of new media and the digital age. So just starting off, how does advertising influence you? Is it just an information source to learn about new products that fit to your already existing needs, or do you think it creates needs in you to buy products that you didn't think of so far? And just think about that for a second. What sites do you use? What kind of advertisements pop up? What advertisements are you more exposed to? Do they make you more interested in new things, or do they kind of already confirm and support what you're already interested in? The idea here is that whether we like it or not, especially in this day and age, is that advertising does impact the economy and it impacts us. Starting with the economy, advertising might cause decreases in product costs. So we start with advertising, which influences demand, which influences sales, and influences production cost per unit, which then influences product cost. So the more we see advertisements collectively as a whole, the lower, this is the idea anyway, that the lower cost certain products will be. So if your interests are in a very niche market, then those products might be way more expensive than the ones that are advertised to a lot of people. And I'm going to go back to this example often throughout this because most of my advertisements are for yoga clothes because I'm a yoga teacher and that's what I buy a lot of, right? So there are certain brands that are way more expensive than others, and there is a quality difference in all of that. But also I feel like there aren't certain brands probably don't have as big of a target audience as something like Amazon. So Amazon can afford to produce items at a lower cost because they have such a broad reach than a clothing outlet like Athleta or something like that, though they do have a large audience. So advertising might cause decrease in product costs. I'm trying to think of another example. We could see this definitely in phones, and that has shifted over time anyway. But there's a lot more that goes into this besides advertising, such as I know there was a computer chip crisis in the last year that caused certain things to be on back order indefinitely, which caused prices to go up. But advertising does actually decrease products costs. So I think I said that right. But yeah, just being aware of the impact on the economy in that way. And then advertising is also correlated with information search costs. So if you'll remember back to that information search, it's like if I actively search for a certain product, then that's a little bit different than like it just popping up on my Instagram feed, right? So advertising is correlated with information search costs. How it impacts us, advertising might cause us to be less satisfied with our lives. And you can see this in this little model here. So advertising affects materialism, which affects life satisfaction. So we'll talk about this a little bit more throughout this video, but when we see advertisements, it makes us value material objects more. And then so material objects then have the power to affect our life satisfaction. So if we don't value those material objects that we're constantly being fed via social media threads, but also like you think about Hulu and YouTube ads and all of that, if we're constantly fed this product information, and if we can gain those things, if we have the money to gain those things, or we have the access to order those things in some way, like that can increase life satisfaction if that's something we want and we can get, sure. But then it can also affect life satisfaction in a very negative way. If we do see an advertisement, if I see an advertisement for a pair of $90 yoga pants and I don't have $90 to spend on yoga pants, even though I want them really bad, I can have lower satisfaction knowing that like I can't afford these pants that I really want, right? So advertising might cause us to engage in more conflict with our families. So thinking about this as I personally think about this from like adolescent Elise space mindset, right? And maybe even like in childhood, especially, which was before, for me anyway, it was before the day of targeted advertisements. And you would watch like cartoons and want all of those toys, and then maybe like your parents couldn't afford them, and then you would get mad at your parents for not being able to get you the toy that you want that maybe like everybody else has or something. I mean, it's not just kids, it's like it's partnerships, and like if you think about buying a house, and how materialism has impacted how we think we should live in certain houses or drive certain cars. And then if you cannot have those things, then it does engage more conflict within a family unit. Here's just a short video. I think it's a short video, but it's a really great video. And I think I have enough time on this video to just watch it on here. So, yeah.
Every day, Americans are bombarded with hundreds of messages suggesting that the good life is attainable through the goods life by making lots of money and spending it on products that claim to make us happy, loved, and esteemed. On the news shows, we hear a near constant refrain from economists and politicians about the importance of consumer spending and economic growth. And around $150 billion are spent most years to embed consumer messages in every conceivable space, from TV shows and websites to public bathrooms and escalator handrails. Lately, marketers have even been paying actors to drop sales pitches into conversations in bars and city parks. But commercialization and consumerism also reach deeper, worming their way into people's psyches and encouraging them to organize their lives around higher salaries and owning more stuff. Unfortunately, this can come at a high price for the well-being of both people and the planet. Research consistently shows that the more that people value materialistic aspirations and goals, the lower their happiness and life satisfaction, and the fewer pleasant emotions they experience day to day. Depression, anxiety, and substance abuse also tend to be higher among people who value the aims encouraged by consumer society. Strong materialistic values also influence our social relationships and thereby affect other people's well-being. Scientists have found that materialistic values and pro-social values are like a seesaw. As materialistic values go up, pro-social values tend to go down. This helps explain why people act in less empathic, generous, and cooperative ways when money is on their minds. When people are under the sway of materialism, they also focus less on caring for the earth. The same type of seesaw is at work here. As materialistic values go up, concern for nature tends to go down. Studies show that when people strongly endorse money, image, and status, they are less likely to engage in ecologically beneficial activities like riding bikes, recycling, and reusing things in new ways. Clearly, if we hope to have a happier, more socially just, and more ecologically sustainable world, then we need to develop ways to diminish the power of materialistic values in our personal lives and in society. Two basic principles for change can help frame the way forward. First, we need to understand what causes people to prioritize materialistic values. For instance, studies show that people focus more on material things when they feel insecure. So instead of buying a new handbag or power tool the next time you've had a blow to your self-esteem, consider a different coping strategy, like spending time with friends or taking a walk outside. Scientists also know that the more that people are exposed to the media, the more they prioritize materialistic values. A couple of ways to diminish the onslaught of consumer messages are to use ad block to hide ads on the internet or to hit mute when commercials play on TV. But these steps can only take us so far. We also need to get active and start to remove advertising from public spaces and from our children's schools so that people aren't exposed to materialistic messages so often. The second principle for change involves promoting intrinsic values for growing as a person, being close to one's family and friends, and improving the broader world. The research shows that intrinsic values not only promote personal, social, and ecological well-being, but can also act to immunize people against materialism. It's that seesaw again. As intrinsic values go up, materialistic values tend to go down. So part of the trick is to build a life that expresses your intrinsic values. That might involve spending more time with people you care about, finding meaningful work, even if it pays less, and taking part in volunteer opportunities for causes you care about. But again, changing our lifestyles is not enough. We also need to advocate for policies that promote intrinsic values. For example, countries like France and Bhutan have recognized that they can't only focus on GDP and other measures of economic growth. Now they are starting to regularly assess citizens' well-being and sense of connection to their communities so as to develop policies that truly encourage these intrinsic values. Similar efforts are underway in some parts of the United States, but they need more support. The grip that consumerism and commercialism have on our world can seem inescapable, and there are certainly powerful forces that push materialistic values on us. But by making changes in our personal lives and by working for broader societal changes, we can break the hold of materialism and be freer to live our intrinsic values. That, in turn, would help us to take important steps toward greater personal well-being, a more humane society, and a more sustainable world.
So, a lot of really good information there, and I feel like that person explains it much better than me. But really, a lot of things that we should think about before we consume certain media, before we elect leaders, or get involved in like community efforts and things like that. So, trying to get out of more of the materialistic world and more into our intrinsic values. So I think I have enough time to keep going for this one slide. So actually, I'm going to pause and we're going to get into that after this video. I can only have like 10 minutes or 15 minutes per video. So I'll stop here and we'll pick back up.